So glad you were here today. I'm glad to see you. I hope everyone's holiday weekend was amazing. I hope you had a great time, and I'm glad to see each and every one of you here today. My name is Renee Schulte, and if you are joining us, you care about making better policy, making healthy policy at home, at work, or in your community. And we're excited that you're here today. I first want to say thanks to Margie and Holly for always grabbing the replay each week, even if they can't be here live. So if you're able to be here and you want to join us live, we'd love to have you live. Come on back to the back. You're going to see in the chat, we have a live for the Q&A, and we would love to have you back in the back. I see Nancy is joining me live in the back. And at the end of our time together today, at the end of when I get done talking, we go to the back and have a chat for Q&A and answer any questions that you might have about today's topic. So I'm excited that you're here. I want to say thank you and get us all ready to go. So thanks so much for coming. And one of the greatest things you can do to thank us for the work that we're doing in here, if you like what you're hearing and like what you're learning, invite your friends. If you know people that need to know more about policy, who need to know more about leadership, about strategy, about making a good message, this is the right place for them. That's what we teach all the time. I'm really excited to tell you we've got some really interesting and different topics coming up from the month of December. So if you're here and you're new, we'd love to have you come back. We're going to talk about how I use stages to network and get business and move places. Stages being things that you can do online, things that you can do when you are talking on somebody else's, like maybe their podcast, or maybe a stage when you go speak in a public manner, whether that's at a local Rotary Club or Kiwanis Club, or if you're talking about an association where you're going to the local association or statewide or even national conference. We're going to talk about some of those kinds of things in the month of December, and we'd love to have you come back. I'm also going to talk about time management. Apparently, in fact, I know it's one of my gifts, one of the things I love, and I haven't probably talked about this enough, but my full focus planner is my best friend. And we're coming up on a brand new year, and that means it's going to be time for the end of the year planning session so that you can get ready for next year. And I'm going to be talking about what in the world is that and how do you manage your time? So we're going to be talking about a lot of cool things in December. So come back and see us. And so I am working as a mental health professional is my training. And then I'm a recovering politician. I did that for a while. And I'm a reformed workaholic. I don't work near as hard as I used to, and I play harder than I work, which is my life's goal. And I love that same life goal for you. So if you're here and you're in the policy space and you're working so hard that you're exhausted and you never get to see your friends and your family, hey, can I tell you something? You're doing it wrong. It doesn't have to be that hard. So let's talk about that. So let's get into today's topic. We're going to talk about some secrets that I learned in the State House. Can you believe it's been over a decade now since I was elected? I actually got taken out of office the last election cycle after the new redistricting map. The new redistricting map just went through and you saw the election. And here in the state of Iowa, we have 53 new members in the State House this year. That's what happens after a new nonpartisan map is redone in our state. We don't get to gerrymander like some states where you get to pick who you want to stay elected. That doesn't work in our state. Computer systems draw them up. And so over a decade ago now, it drew up a map that was not favorable to me. And so out I went, no longer elected. But in that time, I was really honored to serve Iowans and enjoyed my time there. And I got to reform and redesign the mental health system that continued its reform trajectory over the next decade. We got it started while I was there, and since then we've had many successes on ongoing change, which is what always happens in policy. You rarely get it all done the first time. You have to go back and tweak and perfect and change and improve. And that's what we were able to do while I was elected. So really excited to be there. But I can't believe it's been an entire decade since then. But my love for policy came from that time in the State House. I got a firsthand look at how changing a policy could help a whole lot of people. So instead of doing one kid at a time, when I used to do therapy, one family at a time, I got to be able to now create policy that changed a lot of people and a lot of people's lives. Now that could be for good or for bad, right? So we have to be responsible with those policy changes. But I'm going to talk today about a couple of things I learned while moving that redesign bill through the State House that still hold true today. there's two things we're going to talk about, specific ones about everyone's favorite radio station, WIIFM. What's in it for me? And the other one is taking credit. Now, you may not know the WIIFM, but you need to know it because everybody in the whole world runs on this radio station. Everybody wants to know what's in it for them. And so when you're thinking about creating a message that you need somebody to hear, whether it's your boss, a coworker, a person at the state house, a person at city council, and you need them to do something to fix something for you, they're going to want to know what's in it for them. And at least making sure they're not harmed with your request, right? We can't harm people in our requests for others. If you want something done policy-wise that is going to be a negative to the person you're asking, that is almost a guaranteed big fat no. So when you think about the first secret of the day, the radio station, WIIFM, what is in it for me? You have to think about that when you're talking to others. So if you're working with somebody and you're difficult to work with, complaining, griping, overly needy, sending in way too many messages or calling way too often, or just generally being a pain, we're not really helping our cause, are we? People want to see you when you're being a resource, when you're being helpful, when you're giving them information that helps them do their job better. And if our topic is no interest to that person and they can't see how they either get credit with their constituents or their donors, you can almost forget it. If it's not something that they can see makes it better for more than just you, it's going to be really hard to move your issue forward. So you want to think about good policy benefits other people. So yes, it should benefit you. And if you have family members at home, I think about children all the time who are struggling in school and they need a policy change to get better treatment at school for their kid. Yes, absolutely. Yes. Do you advocate? Yes, you do. But should it only be a solution that only impacts your personal kid? No, it should not. It should impact your kid and then every other kid just like your kid, so that it's collective, that there's more people that are going to benefit by that policy change, right? And if there's a policy that's out there that only impacts one person, that was a bad piece of policy to begin with. Policy is not created for individual people. It's created for a system. It's created for a collective. And so thinking about what you want and how it benefits others is really going to help you move your message forward. So thinking about when you go in to talk to somebody about a message, and we talked about this just a couple of weeks back when we talked about how to create that killer message, but I'm going to tie a couple pieces from back there to here right now. One of the things on the killer message list, and if you can't remember how to build a killer message, you're going to want to search our group. It's still there, and it's a really helpful piece. There's 6 pieces to that killer message, and one of them is connecting it to your audience. So that means you have to know enough about the person you're talking to figure out if they have a personal interest or maybe a personal relationship or something that matters to them, so that when you're telling your story, you can connect the dots. And if you know some statistics or some data about their constituents in their district, and you can share that with them, you're going to be able to make a huge impact. So let me give you some examples. When I was working on mental health redesign, we can tell how many people in a given area need mental health help. You can see statistics, you can get data. And do you think everybody that's elected have people in their districts that struggle with mental health? Yes. Do you know that there are people that have been elected that probably have personal stories, or maybe they've lost a family member to suicide, or maybe they have somebody struggling who can't get in the system to get the help they need? Yes. So the more information you can know about that, you're going to start figuring out who are the people you need to talk to get what you need done, right? And so thinking about what's in it for me from the other person's perspective, that's going to help you move forward. And that's going to help you get heard, because as soon as they connect the dot to what you're working on matters to them and can actually make their life better, then they're going to be really excited to try to help you. And that is super important. Now, the second tip we're going to talk about today. So first one is everybody's on that radio station, WIIFM. We're all on that radio station together. But the second one is about taking credit. Lots of people want to do things in the policy space to take credit. But let me tell you a little secret. People are going to take credit for whatever you do that's good, whether they helped you or not. And you might as well just know that from the get-go, because it'll make your life a whole lot easier. If you know that everybody's going to take credit regardless, then you don't have to worry about it. Because here's the secret. The secret is the people know who did the work. People know who knows the right information. People know if you're the expert. So does it matter that so-and-so put their name on whatever it is when people know it was really you? It does not. Now, this one's hard for people because there's a part of this ego and pride thing that gets in the way, where people start thinking that, I have to have credit and all of this. But let me just tell you, I have a great story about this. When we were in the State House and I was working on passing redesign, we were in a what do you call it? But we were in two different chambers, had two different political groups running the two chambers at the time. We were not all the same political makeup. And so I was in the State House and I was one party, and the Senate was a different party. And so we weren't connected. And then the governor was a third, and he was one chamber, but not the other chamber. And so to make something pass, you had to be bipartisan in nature, right? Because you had people of different parties running different things. So it had to be bipartisan. And in my opinion, what's more bipartisan than mental health or healthcare? Nothing. Tell me one person in our country that doesn't need healthcare. I will wait. That's right. You can't think of any, because everybody needs healthcare. So the fact that it gets political and politicized is just ridiculous, because we all need it. So the issue isn't, do we all need it? The issue is people have differing opinions on how it should be done to be done the best, and that's what they fight about. But if you're smart, you'll walk down the middle aisle on this topic, because we all need it. So when getting mental health reform passed, I was told the best gem of information. There was a senator in the other party, in the other chamber, who was in charge. And he was very difficult. He did not necessarily know or understand the details of the legislation. I was a detail person. It really mattered to me what the details were about. I was a person that it needed to work on the ground, because I came from the ground, right? I came from those people out there trying to make it work. So it needed to work. And he'd want to change things to help maybe his donors and his constituents and whatever. And they didn't necessarily connect to making it actually work on the ground. And we would fight, because he would kept wanting to add stuff that was superfluous and just ridiculous and cost more money and was going to get the thing killed and just all of this. And I'm like, dude, it has to work. So you need to stop. That's when somebody told me the secret. If I just made the bill his number and made it, or he got credit as sponsoring it, it didn't matter what else was on the page, it would pass. And they were right. In our state, we do what's called strike after, which means you have the title and then the name of it. Every piece of information below that can be removed and replaced with an amendment. And that's what we did. I have every single thing with mental health redesign was done by amendment for me. I never have the main bill. I never had the main title. So it passed as a Senate bill. I wasn't in the Senate, but every single thing was amended by me to that piece of paper, and it all passed. Now, who do you think people think know about mental health? Do you think they think that senator who'd been there 20 years before and had not passed anything like that before, or me, who came in and got it done? Who do you think gets, quote, credit? Me. It isn't about the piece of paper. But once I figured out that tip and could give him the piece of paper, all done. Now, is it always about the piece of paper? No. But people are going to tell you that they took credit for it anyway. I mean, for years, my favorite thing to do was clip articles out where people's talking about the success of regionalization in our state. And they would always be from the people who yelled the loudest about how I was blowing up a system and ruining the great system we had, which everybody hated, by the way. All of those same people came back later and took credit, because they sat in the meeting in my room, which, that's a lot of work. So I should give them credit for doing that. And they gave some feedback, mostly yelling at me. I can give credit for that. But it was hilarious. Over the years that have passed, people talk about how that was such a monumental shift in our system. And it doesn't matter. They were taking credit anyway. So that's the thing I want to tell you to do. There's two pieces today that are secrets. You always have to think of that radio station that everybody in the world is focused on. WIIFM. What's in it for me? If you can think about that, you're well ahead. And then Don't worry about credit because people know who you are. They know that you're smart. They know that you're going to get it done and they're going to take credit anyway. So why even get mad? So if this is something that you're excited about and you want to know about more secrets, type secrets in the chat, and we're going to reach out to you and give you some details about some other secrets that we have besides WIIFM and taking credit. We have a couple other secrets that we'll send out to you. So if you're interested in knowing more about secrets, put secrets in the chat. We'd love to see you there. Next week, we're going to start talking about those things I talked about earlier. Lots of new different topics. We're going to dive into leadership. We're going to dive into stages. We're going to dive into time management and making sure that you can monetize the work that you do. I hope you guys have an awesome week. I look forward to seeing you soon. And I want to make sure I turn everything off and not kick everybody out. Come on back to the backside. We're going to do Q&A.